Hello, welcome to Trainz. Hello, welcome. And by that I mean so let me backtrack a moment. Originally, I had intended to make a passenger session on stream as well as at least one freight session as well. However, the passenger session, which I have made on stream, has taken so long that I don't believe it would be a good use of time, either mine or yours, if I went through the whole process of making a freight session as well on stream. It would be a lot of testing and going back and forth to fix those little details and fix those little details and so on. So instead, I'm going to play through a session that I have made already, so that's also a nice little preview for you. And then I'm going to go into the surveyor and show you how I've constructed it, which I believe is much better. So, let's see who's in chat. Oh, Commander Root is here. How interesting. Okay, well, I suppose we will get started. So, important, wait for all assets to load in before closing this message and continuing. Yeah, I've put that in there because sometimes, depending on your machine, it can take a while for all the assets to pop in, as it were. Okay. Alright, now that hotbox has been sorted out, we can continue on our way, picking up cars as we descend the mountain. So that's the orders. And then information about only pass signals at danger while switching, do not exceed the speed limit by more than 3 miles per hour. And then, yeah, passing signals along the facing direction. Keep an eye on the markers. Yeah, so keep an eye on the upcoming speed limit changes. Always stop on markers with a leading locomotive or car. While chanting, you may need to throw switches manually. Couple with care to avoid breaking couplers. And then a warning that you should play the session in one go, because again, Trainz doesn't always save all of the session rules states. So just as a precaution. Right. So this is a freight session, and I like doing this bit how Trainz Simulator does it, in that the passenger sessions use the arrival departure times, where depending on how on time you are, you will get more points or you will lose points if you're late. And the freight sessions don't have that because usually it's not that time sensitive. And instead you start with 1,000 points, so the maximum, and you lose depending on speeding. Hello Kango, welcome. I would give the intro again, but I already told you off stream what the plan was for today. So we're currently up at Milton Logging Co., which is up on this end of the route. And yeah, we're going to collect cars as we descend the mountain. Also, I decided to put a switcher up here because that allows me more control. Well, for one thing, it's interesting to look at, but it also allows more control over where the cars are placed. Because if they would have already all been loaded like this, without a switcher here, then that means a road engine would have had to have done that. Which means that it doesn't make that much sense that they weren't then immediately collected unless the road engine went back the other way, but it just makes more sense to me this way. Also, by the way, these are Trainboy 1's lovely F7 models, for which I do still need final permission to actually then upload, which I've been trying to get for a while, but there seems to be some sort of issue with that, getting with the communications. So I'll see if I can get that sorted out. If not, then I'll have to revert back to Oren's ancient model. But hopefully that can get sorted out, because there are quite a few other repaints of his F7s, so I don't see why there should be any trouble with these. Just had to sort something out. Oh, okay. And reload the page because the chat button was grayed out. But yeah, hi. Oh, hello. Test. Yes, hello. Is it on stream? I don't know. Oh, yes, it is. Good. Okay, decouple that. And then sometimes it takes a moment for it to actually register as decoupling. If you pull away, then it registers faster, I found. Oh yes, there is the stream title. Now, although I did say that you should always pass through signals in the along the facing direction of the train, since it isn't actually checking for passing signals at danger because of the switching thing, it actually doesn't matter. But I've put it in there anyway for good measure, because in other sessions where it does continuously check for passing signals at danger, it's important to pass through signals in that direction. So I thought I would keep it in for consistency's sake. Oh, right. It would appear that I did not put on the train brake, and thus... Okay, that's fun. Yeah. Looks like I didn't put on the train brake. Let's see if I can couple up to that and push it back. That's not happened to me before. Going well, I see. Yes, hello Code Monkey VGR, hello. Come on. I mean, at this point it might be faster to just restart the scenario anyway, because I don't want to break a coupler. So the relative coupling speed has to be 3 miles per hour or less. However, yeah, we'll see. And no, this was not intentional. Should be fine. And slow down. Did that couple? Yes, okay. Now brake and reverse. It'll be interesting to see if that, happens to anybody else while playing the scenario. I'm just glad I didn't switch the junction yet, because otherwise it would... Actually, it did. Huh. I guess it just rolled over the junction without derailing. Interesting. Ah, you remember the session, yes. Yikes, haha. Brace y'all's selves. I didn't sign up for this MVR employee. Didn't happen to me. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I was having trouble with the internet a bit earlier. It seems to be fine now, but if the stream suddenly goes away, then it's probably because the internet got cut by BT, because they are doing things with the stuff. By stuff I of course mean their logistics, their setup, their things, engineering. Okay, leaving train brake on, decouple, then brake off, then go. There we are. A nice bowl of cables and wires. Uh-huh. Yeah, so we're gonna be a bit later completing the session than we otherwise would be, so it'll just take a little bit longer, but that's fine. Not so. This session should take about an hour and 10 minutes, I believe. So it'll take a little bit longer, but that should still leave plenty of time to show how the session is made in the surveyor, like the session rules and things. And we're about to speed. There we go. Not focusing. If I weren't streaming, then I would of course play the session much better. Totally not the exact same at all. Okay, let's switch that switch back there. Also, if there's any lag in this, then that's just because I'm running this on an old computer while streaming. So, yeah, this route is actually quite performance friendly, I would say. And again, the coupler breakage speed is 3 miles per hour, which is, I believe, the default for the train physics session rule. Okay, and almost there. Coupled up. Okay. Now we need to go forwards and then take the empty tanker here as well. The diesel tanker. Also, you wouldn't want to run past those bumpers because then, well, let's just say you're going to go for a little fun slip and slide through a little bit of woodland into a river. Which, usually if you say let's just say, then you're going to say a bit less than what actually you mean to say, or what would be said. But in that instance, I think I pretty much said the exact thing that would happen. Did you put an old rusty vodka behind those bumpers? No, I did not. At least not that I can remember. Let's just say your entire train will likely plummet into a ravine gorge. Riveting gameplay. Rivered! Ah yes, rivered, of course. And I find that with freight trains, it usually helps to have the sander on when starting from a stop. Because wheel slip does, with heavier trains, occur fairly easily. Not as easily as that one HST on the Conch railways. Which reminds me, I did want to have a look at the updated version of that route as well. As well as Polaris, of course, finishing that. I have lots of plans. Now those tracks just end in the dirt. And you do also have to keep in mind that there is slack in this game. So slack is the amount of give between cars, if you didn't know. So the difference between a train being taut or being compressed. And so that can influence things like coupling with a longer train. Okay, now we've got that. The marker's over by the train that we started with, and so we'll have to collect all of that. Also, did you see Eagle's new route's name yet? No, I have not. Too many time, too few plans. Strike that, reverse it. Yes, indeed. Strike that, turn right around, step to the side, reverse it. Well, put the throttle in neutral first and then reverse it. It is Grundorf Lokalbahn. Hahaha. Grundorf Lokalbahn. Interesting, which translates to Gran Village, local way, or local railway. I can see the compression is really not enjoying all of this greenery moving. Fun fact, Grundorf is the name of a fictional map and town in OMSI 2. In fact, multiple locations on Eagle's map are based in OMSI names. Is there a town or an industry called Zugriffsverweigerung? Nordspitze being another one of them. I guess Eagle thought, what do I know that might be a source of German names? Ah yes, the very German bus simulator. Okay, now we just need to collect our previous consist. And Bahnhof. Bauernhof, which translates to farmer's yard. Or farmer's court. I mean, that's what it translates to literally. But the actual meaning, the translation is just farm or farmyard. Yeah. Nächste Station, Zugriffsverweigerung, Hauptbahnhof. Ausstieg in Fahrtrichtung links. Next station, access denial. Main station. Exit in driving direction left. Also, I am... No, not violation. Violation would mean... Actually, how would you translate violation? Also, I am being more cautious than I would otherwise be because I'm distracted by chat and I don't want to accidentally break a couple and have to start over. There we go. Now that we've got everything, the next marker has changed to being a proceed marker somewhere over there, about 3.33 miles away. Also a very nice interior. Especially with these levers working with the cab lights and the Mars light and all that sort of stuff. Link's fun. Well, in England, yes. As soon as in England, yes. Well, in the United Kingdom, I should say. Also, I would have a longer render distance, but again, performance on this old computer while streaming. Also, a good tip for when you get your hands on this route, dynamic brakes are your friend. Actually, yeah, the lights were on. Let's get an image, because that might just be the thumbnail. Or something like that. I'm sure we'll get plenty of opportunities. Friends at last, hahaha. Back when I replaced the vast majority of textures with PBR textures, it did take me a while to get used to the slightly different look of the MVR. However, now I can barely tell the difference because it does fit very well like this with the changed textures. Yeah, that's a bit odd. I'm not currently... 1 second. There we go. Wasn't getting any audio in my right headphone, but it was just the switch that was slightly malfunctioning. Or maybe we could get a thumbnail here. Hold on. Perhaps I'll temporarily increase the render distance somewhat. There we go. That's probably going to be a good thumbnail. Yeah, especially if I crop it a little bit from underneath. Or I'll take another one like that. Whoops. What? 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 I did not mean to. I don't know what happened then, but that's fine. Okay, here we go. Just, yeah, we'll continue. None of that happened, it's fine. Except for the thumbnail. That did happen, and that's also fine. Alright, Dr. 10. Dr. 10? No cause for alarm. Yes. Wibbly wobbly, switchy, junk tea stuff. Just one thing to keep an eye on with the dynamic brake is make sure that it's actually on, because otherwise you're just gonna accelerate more by turning the throttle, by opening the throttle. Yeah, you are supposed to look at it to see it. Also, look, if I go over here and change the switch for the Mars light, look, it actually turns on and it's even animated. Look. Yeah, numpad 1. Yeah, because it's the pantograph, basically. Which means that you can actually also turn it on and off with drive commands. We've already got really quite a long train, but it's only going to get longer. And it does also look a lot better now that I've added 3D rocks in the cliff walls. Those add so much, but they were so boring to place. Tedious, yes. Necessary, technically no, but definitely an improvement, which I believe to be worth the investment in both time and energy. Okay, now currently we are actually a bit below the speed limit and we're slowing down. However, the incline is going to start back up again. It's going to intensify again in a little bit. So I don't really see much need to turn the dynamics off. Well, to switch back to regular acceleration mode. There we are, accelerating again. Ooh, that's also really nice. Hold on. That might also be a nice thumbnail. Although now the rock is in the way a little bit. Yeah, that might look quite good. There's that lovely bridge. And I am much happier with the bridge's current revised orientation rather than the original. Although I do like the remnants of the tracks still being here for how it was originally laid. And the abutments were also a nice suggestion. Also, I did name the bridges. This bridge is named Mountain Man Bridge. And I can tell you, there is definitely some truth to that name. Truth. Oh yeah. Truth. Oh yeah. Oh, need to slow down. Oh, actually, no, I don't, because the speed limit went up to 35, so I'm actually going to accelerate. Wahaha. And this does actually look a lot better with improved, with the higher shaders on, where you get reflections in the water. Which I used to be able to run fine in Service Pack 2 without it lagging. But then in Service Pack 5 they changed around some things, and now that isn't really an option while streaming this route for me. Oh well. Don't be ridiculous. It's Jack. Did you know that Jack was an old name for the devil? Oh yes. If you go into the bay window caboose, into this corkboard, you'll see how the line originally went as well. I did notice that. That is very nice. He would, of course, be near the top of the hill with a bucket. Oh? Okay, I'm gonna put the dynamics up to maximum to slow down a little bit more, because there is a 25 limit coming up. Bucket of ashes or hot coals? Yikes. I don't get the reference at the moment. It's probably quite obvious. No reference. Oh. I see. That's just what I thought of. Oh. Okay. Here's a little switcher. The ones to get out onto the main, but they're going to have to wait a little while, because we're going to be switching ourselves. Mwahahaha. Sounds like one of those edgy music videos. Hello, Mr. Snipes. So the plan for this stream is, I'm showcasing one of the sessions that I've made, and then I'm going to hop into Surveyor and show you how I set it up, because that's a lot more time efficient than going through the entire process of creating a new session on stream, because, yeah. Okay. Let's stop here. The signal's green anyway, so that's good. And then we decouple that car. Making sure that the brakes are on this time. Okay, then we need to couple to the other consist over there, where I have now actually put in some of those flatbeds with the cars on, which come from down here. I'm gonna have to go, guys. See ya when I see ya. Okay, bye-bye. See you then. Could do a whole series of recorded videos where you show how each of the sessions works. Call the series Behind the Session. I could, but I don't want to spoil all those things, because I want people to purchase. Chevy Impalas. Oh yes. Down there and Sons. Car dealership. No, there's actually timber logging. Yes, that was a suggested name for it. Although this would not be an ideal location for a car dealership, I have to say. Okay. We still have the signal, so now we have to go forward again and couple to the rest of our train and then continue. While the little switcher is still patiently waiting. New message. Impalas? Want a joint with those? What? No. I don't think so. This was before my time, I believe. The name timber logging was definitely suggested by a viewer, I believe, during the industries planning cycle, when I had the big table with all the industries. I think that's when we named it. Sounds like the sort of thing I would think was clever. Yeah, I don't exactly recall who it was who suggested it, but I do believe that it was a suggestion by a viewer. Also, you'll get to actually now see the updated stretch to the dam, because originally it was just the tracks along the edge of the cliffs there, but now I add a little dirt road that goes over to the dam so that cars can actually get from the main road over across the dam and then over to here. Monsieur Munge. No, Mungo. Hello. Hi, Shadows. I just bought Trainz 22 Platinum today and been watching your editor tutorials. Ah, well, I hope that they're helpful. I do have a copy of Trainz 22 as well, but I've never installed it because I want this route to the MVR to be compatible for Trainz 19 users as well, and so I'm finishing it on Trainz 19, but then for the next project, I intend to switch over to Trainz 22, which I realized was a lot of 2 sounds then. I return to play a song for this very long stretch. It's not that long of a stretch, but it's a beautiful stretch. Okay, now we need to couple carefully, else we risk breaking a coupler. I hope you've brought your accordion then. Oh yes, of course. There we go. So now we've got all of these from all the way back here. That's our entire train going all the way to the front. For some reason the MVR flight cars remind me of Conrail flight cars. Perhaps the blue with white text. I can see that. Yeah, so this road, this dirt road going beside the tracks, is new since my last, well, since I built this area. I did that off stream. But I think it adds a lot. There's also, yeah, it's actually this session. There's a little scene where there are some hikers who are on their way, walking to places. And see, one of them's got a bag under the arm, the other one's carrying a coat. They don't at all seem worried about the trains being this close, but that's fine. Best I can give you is ye old guitar. Even though the Y in ye old would actually be pronounced the, because the only reason why the Y is there is because the original letter for the th or the sound, th, was removed from the alphabet, and so they needed something to replace it with, and the Y sound sounds a bit similar, and so they replaced it with the Y letter for a bit. But it actually would have always been pronounced as the or the or the. Tupperware Lane. Not this time. Also, the streetlights on the dam and everywhere else on the route are also new, and it looks very nice at night or at evening when those lights are on. They're orange. Okay, thank you. I am a bit lost still. I bought the game for the editor, which seems extensive. I'm a big Renate nut, but sadly no editor for that sim. Yeah, it can take a while to get used to Trainz, but the editor in Trainz is, I would consider, for various reasons, even though it has its issues, I would still consider it by far the best editor for any train simulation game. I mean, if you have specific things you would like help on, then I'd be happy to help if you catch one of the Trainz live streams like this. But of course, I can only help with things that are from the legacy editor, like the one that's in Tiers 19. The Surveyor 2.0 I have no experience with and thus cannot assist. Alright, I see. I've heard good things about Renate, but it is really quite pricey to get into and haven't got myself currently. Yeah, especially since they have an absolutely no money back policy, and since I would have to run it in a virtual machine where it's pretty much a flip of the coin whether a game actually runs or not. That's not ideal, especially since it costs, I think, $50 to get into. Especially since I've already got Trainz and Tiers 19, well, sorry, Trainz and Train Sim Classic, and also Train Sim World, which hasn't been running great because of performance, but anyway. Yeah. Okay, this is an interesting area, because here we're going to need pretty much maximum dynamics, and maybe also some loco brakes, because this is the steepest incline on the route, which is almost 5% going down. It's almost at Saluta grade levels of grade. And so it can get quite tricky if you are not prepared for this bit. Trainz, hey, you could name the road on top of Grand Vista Dam Tupperware Lane. No. Wouldn't fit. Not in this case, anyway. Khan Road? Or for dramatic effect, Khan Road. Khan, yes. Oh, the speed limit just went up. Actually, hold on. I want to quickly link something. 1 second. Because we're on that topic. Hold on. 1 second. Need to very, very quickly go there, close that. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Okay, this is the bit where we're accelerating back up to 35, and then you can easily run over and lose points due to speeding. Although, it must be quite a nice journey for these cars. For once, they don't have to worry about staying on the road, else they fall, lest they fall down the ravine. I agree, best editor by far. I dabbled heavily in the Trainz Classic editor, but it is way dated and very hard to get custom assets into the game. Also, as far as I know, one of the biggest strengths that the Trainz editor has is the filter system. In the top left, there's a button where you can click show filters, so search filters, something like that. And then you can just search by name, or by author, or by date installed, or by all those different things. And just, or pick lists where you can drag items over into the pick list to filter them. It's just so much easier to work with. Plus you've got the download station as well. Okay, this area is a little bit laggy while streaming, since Service Pack 5. But don't worry about that, it's fine. Oh yes, and here are some of the reskinned coaches, which we've already seen on the passenger session. I think I left the slowing down thing a bit too late. Yeah. But it's okay. It's fine in this instance. Okay, so, and then here, because I wanted to keep the special cars, which are the ones with the cars on there, in the front of the train, so that you would actually have a high chance of seeing them as you went along, I decided that the extra cars that you couple here, which are the intermodal piggyback hoppers, piggyback flat cars, would be coupled in between the cars and the log cars. I see. I did start a couple of routes in that, but never got too far with them. Another really big benefit of Trainz editor is in session creation. You have so much more freedom with what you can make in regards to AI timings and complexity with layers and all that sort of stuff. Which does admittedly come also with quite a bit of frustration, because it can be quite buggy, especially since there's also quite a bit of user-generated content in the mix. However, clearly I must believe that it's worth it, otherwise I probably wouldn't do this. Command Shift F, or Windows Shift F. Culture building S4. Got a brown interior now. Lisa, song done. I will now leave again. Okay, bye bye. By the way, did you guys see the reshade, of course, the reshade I did on Ali's space yacht? I saw that you posted it, but I didn't have the time to look at it properly. Okay. Also, another little edit I did is I replaced the turntable here with one that has a bit of a higher resolution texture to it. So, yeah. Yeah, since all Trainz download station content is freeware, quite varies substantially. Especially also if you consider that some of those assets are from 2004. Not properly, but I did see the post. Could name not the turntable OI spinny. Oh, that's too close. See, I shouldn't get distracted. Old spinny. I could do that, but it's not necessary. Because that would just get confusing if you actually use the industry name of it to try to locate it if you're making sessions for it, for example. Because there are session rules that allow you to spin the turntable, which I have actually used in one of the sessions here. Okay, so now we've got all the piggyback stuff. Now we need to couple back up to our regular consist. There's another train waiting here to get onto the main line. He's come up from the Silver Falls branch. So, alright. There's a different shader on it, one with more accentuated shadows. Nice. So you can tell the different bumps and ridges of the mesh. I'm sure that it's an improvement. These are the last cars we're picking up, right? Well, currently they're on the left, but yes. I'm pretty sure. As well as a different glow shader for the lights. Okay. Yeah, the TRC triggers are a bit buggy when there's a train on the crossing and another train going away from the crossing, because then it's getting mixed signals from the different triggers as to whether it should go up or go down. Actually, it's quite fitting that this is one of the scenarios for the showcase for how I'm doing them, because in my session making tips tutorial I used this area to demonstrate the triggers and track marks, because back then this area was new. Yeah, we've got quite a few trailers. You could say that this is a railroad train as opposed to a road train, which is itself opposed to a regular train, which is in itself a railroad train. Okay, and now we need to come back and get the rest of our train, and then we're on the way again. And the important thing is, don't break a coupler, because if I break a coupler, then, well, that's pretty much the session over then. Hey Kango, that top-down camera from Euro Truck Simulator would be really useful right about now. And there we go. Now, we're ready to continue. AKA, yay! I'm gonna to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, VGR. Although this could be a lovely thumbnail opportunity as well. Maybe if we go a little bit further. I'll increase the render distance again a little bit. And it does look a lot better like this with an increased render distance. Of course. Actually, it might look better zoomed out, because then... Actually, maybe a middle zoom like this. Because then you'd actually see the bridge underneath as well. Ooh, although maybe we could do it like that. Ooh, that's a nice... That could be a nice thumbnail. Or maybe that. Okay, now I need to reduce the render distance. And we're off. Once we're probably underway again, would you like to briefly show off the Grand Vista Reservoir map on the Caboose Corkboard on stream? Sure. I can quickly do that. Let me just go to the back of the train. We should be there in about half an hour. There we go. Yeah, because Kango repainted the interior of the caboose as well, so that you can see the proper textures on the outside. But he also replaced all of the art in the middle, in the interior. You can see, for example, here, this is some of the art Kango made for this over here as well. Now, the map was somewhere. Over here, yes. So Kango made this as well. And that might be a clue as to where there might be an Easter egg. And also he put the baseboard grid on here. Yeah, that's how the map, how it used to go, the route. Both in universe and out of universe. And that's how it goes now. So, yeah, Grand Vista Reservoir. That's Willis's shack down there. Lovely. There's a lot of Easter eggs to find in that interior. That's proper poetic, that is. Oh, good. Do you plan on composing a theme for MVR 2 like you did for CMR? Maybe. I don't know yet. It depends on how I want to make the trailer. Definitely give Run 8 a try if you can. Yeah, it's expensive, but I've spent the last 9 to 10 months slowly collecting all the DLCs, and it hasn't hurt the wallet too hard. Very cool open world concept where tons of trains are running over hundreds of miles. The industry system is brilliant as well. I have heard really good things about it. It's just, for me currently, that is quite a bit of money, especially on something that I don't know if I'll be able to even have any benefit from now, especially if I know that there's a absolutely no returns policy. So, but yeah, it does look and sound really interesting, and I'm glad you enjoy it. Right. Retraced the train's screenshots for the base lining on those. Thank you. About Run 8. I suppose it depends on how well armored your wallet is. Ha! Yeah, how much gambeson it's wearing. If you don't know what gambeson is, it's layered linen armor that was quite heavily used in the medieval times and later as well. It's basically just extremely tightly sewn together layers of linen armor. Basically padding. And what would a wallet use for padding? Well, paper money, of course. If the base game would run fine, that would be nice. Oh, right. Never heard of it. And so I should probably use the local brake to slow down a little bit more. I try using the loco brake and dynamics as much as I can because those react the quickest in trains, whereas the train brake is a lot more sluggish to, well, to apply, but also mainly to release. And so I tend to stick with loco and dynamics if possible. Although we are slowing down a little bit too much then. Oh look, there appears to be a car on this stretch of the line where the road goes over the tracks. Well, at least he's made proper way. Hello, Serious Cow King, welcome. The plan for the session is, for the stream, is for me to show off one of the, instead of making another complete session on stream, because that would just take ages, I'm showcasing, oh, and Marky as well, hello. I'm showcasing one of the sessions that I've already made, and then I'm gonna go into the surveyor and show you some of the bits of how I made it, in case that interests you. Now we're approaching Horror Point sidings, where there definitely aren't any monsters that I've placed in any of the sessions. Sure is that near miss car a reference to the near miss mail van on yet unfinished 10 Route Eastern Western Railroad? No, it is not. That would be an extraordinarily obscure reference. Oh, what's this over here? There appear to be two U-50s, one of which has broken down. That is very atypical for the U-50s, isn't it? Like that guy's climbing up and that guy down there is instructing him. He's telling him to be careful. And there's a Fairbanks Morse with some hoppers just passing by. Where's Milton Valley Railroad in the world? Well, the original idea for it is that it's set somewhere in Pennsylvania. It's a fictional route, but it's set somewhere in Pennsylvania. However, I do also have sugarcane plantation as an industry, which of course would be more common in Florida. But so yeah, it's kind of in that area of the world. Definitely East Coast USA, and sort of Pennsylvania / a little bit of maybe Florida or Georgia in that regard, but yeah, East Coast, as in East Coast on a continental scale. Oh yeah, Shredder is perfect. Don't use that step. It's known to break off easily. Now we're gonna need the dynamics a bit more. Pennsylvania, like the CMR? Yes. Wait, East Coast? Yeah, East Coast states. So basically the East, yeah. It's usually better to have railways in Pennsylvania than in Transylvania. The ticket inspectors are less intimidating for starters. Yes, indeed. Cool. Sugarcane would be transported anywhere really, but it could be North South Carolina or yes, Georgia. Well, yeah. Now, North South Carolina is a good shout as well, because I have because there is an actual sugarcane plantation on this route, not just a. It's not just a commodity that's coming in from off the map to be processed. It's actually grown on the map. And there is already a session where, because that's one of the branches on this map. If I'm, so that area down here, that's the sugarcane branch, where I guess I can give you a little preview. So you've got the sugarcane fields over here on the right. Need to apply more brakes. And I already made a little session where you take a little 6-couple switcher to switch out this industry and bring it over to the sidings by the main line where it interchanges with mainline freight trains. It looks better with a bigger render distance where you actually see the countryside surrounding it, but yeah, still very cool. Thank you. And made your very own sugarcane bulk load asset. Yes, I have made the bulk load asset, because originally I wanted to have kind of like those sugarcane cars where it's almost like box cars that are open on the top but have like the separated planks on the side, but I couldn't find anything like that for standard gauge, and so instead I decided to just use a gondola and have it as a bulk load, which I think has turned out quite well. I'm kidding, the entire Milton area. Alright, I like this area a lot. I'm kidding, I like the entire Milton area a lot. Milton, sure. Okay, and the dynamics appear to have gotten our speed down enough for the 20. Miltona. Oh, right. Miltoana. Oh, yes, of course. And this area also looks quite a lot better with a longer in distance, where you can actually see the forest on the other side and reflections in the water. That way goes to New Starport, which is kind of the actual main city area is off the map behind the hills, but there is a bit of the town and the harbor industry. Oop, need to slow down. Yes, yes. The harbor industrial district area, which I can very quickly show. This took a while, really a long while to build, but you can see down here you've got this entire industrial area where the assets haven't quite loaded in yet. They're still loading in. But I know. Yeah, basically you get the idea. Loads of industries, warehouses, lots, and these are actually functional industries down here. So you can bring in goods that are generated on the map and deliver them down here. Like, or for example, there's also where the coal comes from, where it's loaded off of barges, and then that connects up to the yard, which is up here, the switching yard with a turntable, water tower, and so on. Also, we're just approaching the first ever baseboard that I started the map with, which is just this, basically. Actually, I think we're already on it. Yeah, we just entered it. And this baseboard is actually still the thumbnail currently for the route, because I haven't actually changed the route's thumbnail ever since I started it. which I will of course have to do at some point, but currently, yeah, this baseboard is what started the whole route. Because if you've watched my tutorials, then you'll know that I use asset palettes, and when I start a new route, I put together a set of different assets like trees, ground textures, track assets, grass splines, all that sort of stuff, to figure out a combination of assets that work well together and that I like the looks of for the route, and then I kind of extend that set of assets for the majority of the route, only deviating from it slightly to keep a contiguous feeling. And yeah, that was the baseboard where I put down and chose my asset palette, and well, it worked out quite well. Also, fun fact, over here in the woods somewhere, yes, over here, here's that little section of forest. That's the section, like the blueprint for the woods that I select to copy and paste everywhere. Even though that's just the denser wood. I've got two separate wood areas, a dense one and a less dense one, so that it's better for performance. Because the dense one I just put around the edges of the woods, and the less dense one I put next to the tracks. Right. You did that off stream June 2020. Before you started streaming. Yep. I wonder what trains will go on the Thammer for the route. Again 3 like the CMR? I don't know. It's probably going to be an F7. Maybe the Hudson Streamline, the Hudson Streamliner. And then I don't know yet. Maybe Fairbanks Moors. This also looks so nice with water reflections turned on. And this lift bridge is actually, it's an asset from the DLS. And it's actually animated, it goes up and down. It's in the thumbnail of the trailer, yes. It is a great asset, although it doesn't actually have any texture on the mesh there. By the way, if you do get into Trainz route building and you'd like feedback on your things, then feel free to post on my Discord server. And me including other people who are just on the server are generally very helpful and good at giving critical feedback. So, and by critical I mean constructive criticism. Now this will take quite a while for the entire train to pass the speedboard, but yeah. Yeah, I'm on there too. Just wish with the steel beams. Just wish the steel beams were textured. Yes. Just wish the steel beams. Just wish the steel. Try saying that 10 times fast. Just wish the steel. 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 I think that was only 5 times, but that's plenty. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we're now obviously out of the mountainous area. And this goes, so on the very southern end of this route, there is an actual city that the route goes through, which of course now won't load in properly because it's way too many assets and that'll take a while for it to all pop in. But there's an entire industrial area down here with functional industries. There's a yard and rolling stock shop area over here. shunting yard, and then the route continues to go through the city where the assets are just loading, and I need to speed up a bit. Come on. Come on, assets. Anyway, I think you get the idea. There are tall buildings all around here. But yeah, so it actually does go through the city to a big terminus in the kind of the heart of the city with skyscrapers and that sort of stuff as well. So those are the kind of the three main landscape scenery types on the route. You've got the mountainous area, which is about half of the route. Actually, it's a bit more than that with branch lines, I think. And you've got the kind of flatlands like this, which are interspersed with hills and forests that you go through, like woodlands. And then you've got the city area and industrial districts. Oh look, there's a train coming. I'm sure that'll have a very interesting locomotive power selection. Oh look, it's a U50 that Kanga repainted, and it's an F7 B&A unit. Now that's interesting. Okay, now the speed limit's finally gone up to 55. I also repainted some of the parts of the U50's interior. Yes. And there are quite a lot of Easter eggs on this route as well. The session that I'm currently making off-stream also handles these industries down here, picking up grain from the grain bins. Well, that's odd. A message was supposed to pop up there. Why did that message not pop up? Actually, that's something I need to look into. I thought that I had playtested this session after making all the changes, but apparently I hadn't. Hey, I can look into that on stream. Yeah, it's supposed to say that we've got a hotbox again and that we're going to need to stop at Blackberry Sidings, which is just up ahead, to sort that out. Because the session's already over an hour long and I didn't want you to have to go all the way to New Penzance, which is the city at the end of the map, to get into that yard. Because there are already quite a few sessions that go along that stretch, and so I thought I'd stop the train here. Plus it's a little bit more exciting since it's unexpected. And yeah, this is where the sugarcane branch comes up from, and which, by the way, still uses old semaphore signals, as you can see. But how will you test if it works, though? Well, I'll just have a look at the session rules, and if I figure out why it doesn't work, then I can fix that, and depending on what it is, either I'm sure that it logically has to work if I've fixed that issue, because it has worked previously, before I made some modifications. Or, if it's something more complicated than that, then I'll just have to playtest the entire scenario again to see if it works or not. Either that, or place the train closer to the trigger and put in some temporary session rules to skip a lot of the stuff to then get in, but that might take longer to implement and then de-implement to get through. Question is though, can you apply logic to trains? Who knows? And perhaps without the small braking hiccup. I don't know what you mean. There is nothing in the official record that would indicate a braking hiccup. Maybe a braking burp, but not a braking hiccup. And there's one more AI train coming. Yeah, and we're about 5 minutes late from the estimated time of arrival due to the braking incident, or lack thereof. See? Playing the session normally takes longer. What do you mean normally? This isn't normal. Okay, there we go. Oh, drat, it looks like we've got a hotbox again. We'll need to sort this out of Blackbird settings. Oh, that's odd. Why did it show that message then? That was the message it was supposed to show before. Odd. Yeah, this is going to take a while to sort out. I wish the MVR didn't defer maintenance so much on their freight locos. Yeah, everything's fine. No, it's fine. Okay, so yeah, that was one of the sessions. So just for reference, I'll just go through the names quickly of the ones I've done. So the one we've done on stream is New Washington Commuter, and then I've got Parsons Sugar Shuffle, Just a Few More Pebbles, Cragliner Express Down, Switching the Harbor, Mountain Commuter, the Streamlined Express, Heavy Freight Down the Grade, which is the one we've just played, that rhymed unintentionally, Silver Falls Special Delivery, and then Steamy Night Train, and then the one I'm currently working on, which is U50ing it down the line. You can have 3 guesses as to what locomotive the player will be helming. So yeah, let's edit that session, and let's see if I can figure out what the issue was. Gluck, thank you. Okay, well, assets are still loading in, obviously, and so is the UI. But let's see over here. So the trigger, which triggers that message, because the thing is, the trigger did get triggered because it obviously switched to the... Actually, is it a trigger or is it just the... Yeah, it has to be a trigger. We'll wait for it to all load in, and then we can sort this out, hopefully. This is why I have the message in the beginning to wait for all the assets to load in, because if you're playing on a bit of an older computer, it can take a little while. Okay, there's the trigger. Okay, so what's that trigger called? It's called TGR hotbox. So player goes over that and then triggers the event. So let's go into the session rules. Now let's see. Okay, there we go. TGR hotbox, which completes that nav marker and then creates that new navigation point set and then displays the message. Oh, I realize what the issue is. Yeah, so can go and waits for it to be completed. Yes, because originally I had it this way around, so that, actually no, originally I had it that way around, so that it shows, you go over it, and then it shows the message and says, oh drat, we've got a hotbox again, and we'll need to stop at BlackBerry Sidings to sort this out. And then you click on that to confirm it, and then it completes that and changes the, because originally the nav marker was to proceed, which was a few miles down the line, to go towards New Penzance. But then that gets replaced with a nav marker to stop at BlackBerry Sidings. And originally it was this way. Then Kango playtested the session, and the feedback, some of the feedback was that it would be better to have the nav markers change before you acknowledge the message, because you might leave the message up or take a while to read it, and then it might be too late. So I just moved it down there, thinking that this all happens simultaneously because it's not indented like that. But that's only how some of the rules work. So if I add a simultaneous list rule, child rules are executed simultaneously once this rule starts, and then move these in one, so I indent them all by 1, then that should have fixed the problem. Yeah. Or you could just have the game be paused while the message is displayed. I could, but then that's less stressful for the player. Yeah, but it's not tabbed into the navigation display. It's not a child rule. Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Some rules wait until the one above them is finished, while other rules don't. Like, for example, here, I have consist check, and then I've got wait on navigation point. Those happen simultaneously. It's not that it waits for the consist to exist, and then if the consist exists, then it waits for the navigation marker, and then when this one is complete, it waits for this one to be completed. So these ones happen simultaneously, but apparently these ones do not. At least these ones do not. It seems to be arbitrary, but you figure it out mostly, usually, sometimes, maybe. Yeah. I read part of the documentation for creating session rules, which was interesting. It is truly a world of chaos in there. Yes, I know. Now save! Yeah, then give us a guided session rule tour. Yes, let's save. Always double check the saving thing, because sometimes it's buggy and it insists on saving as a new session where, yeah, just make sure it saves the correct thing. So pretty much all of the session scripting happens in the session rules. Driver setup is where you give AI Trainz commands. And there is a session rule where you can give AI Trainz new commands depending on that session rule, but that's broken in this version of Trainz. It's probably fixed in Tiers 22, but in this version it's broken because some of the assets got partially updated, but not all of them. So then the driver commands rule, of course, that's all of the different driver commands that are then available to give to drivers, to AI Trainz. Then session metadata, that's all okay. Here I lock all of the junctions that the player will interact with, that the player should not be able to change, so that the player's being railroaded, basically. And then also some signals that I change for AI Trainz, because the AI Trainz will always approach a yellow signal very slowly, even if it's miles away, and even if there are multiple yellows in a row, and there's no need to slow down yet, it'll always approach them slowly, which is why I have that in there to make one of the AI Trainz go at the speed that it's supposed to go at. And then I set the ranking points variable to 1000 and begin the ranked session. Then I've got all the messages, which are the orders and the warnings and all that sort of stuff. And then I've got navigation display, which is what creates those icons that show up. Now for the proceed ones, it's just automatic, which means as soon as you either reach the marker or couple to a train, it succeeds. Then stop, which I just need to change to required stop. That's also good. Now for decoupling, that has to be switched to manual. Now I have, as the target where the icon shows up, I've selected a specific train vehicle so that it always follows that vehicle, the icon. Change the icon of the marker to decouple, the text decouple as well. But then to check whether or not you've decoupled, you have to use the consist check rule, and then toggle enforce strict exclusive testing, which means instead of checking, okay, is there a consist that contains these vehicles, you check, okay, is there a consist that contains only these vehicles? And so, actually I do also think that it checks for the arrangement of them, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So in this case, I toggled that on, and then in this list I put the 2 F7A units and the 2 F7B units in the order that they're in the train. Now, because enforce strict exclusive testing is enabled at the top, that means it only returns true if those 4 locomotives exist like that without other stuff coupled to it. And once that's the case, then it'll go through here and it'll complete the next navigation marker. Although, looking at this, that might actually be an issue, because this is on the top level of the indentation, which means that can be true at any time. So if you just decouple the cars right at the beginning, for whatever reason, then that would be a shortcut. So a way I can fix that is for putting in a wait on navigation point rule, which basically checks for one of the navigation markers to be completed before returning true. In this instance, we need to wait for 2 to be completed in set 1, because if you recall, the first navigation marker is the proceed, which is just beyond the bridge. The second one is the stop marker. And then the third one is the decouple one. And so we should only check for if we've decoupled after we've completed the other 2 markers. Right, yes, and then I've got a couple ones like that. And then we've got the trigger, which we've already went over just now. And then for the last one where you stop on by the signal, I put a wait session rule, which the way this works is a little confusing. It says wait for 5 ± 0 seconds, which means wait for 5 seconds plus or minus a randomness of X seconds. So I've just set that to 5, so wait for 5 seconds, then displays the rule, the message about this is going to take a while. Just because it makes more sense, you stop and then a little bit of waiting before the people have inspected what the issue is, even though 5 seconds, of course, is much too short a time for this, but it feels more realistic. Also, the SAP message pop-up rule has a bigger rectangle to show the text in than the normal message pop-up rule. And with this, you can toggle whether or not it pauses the game while displayed, which is useful for things like running through a red signal, because then you don't want the player to just be able to continue before you cancel the session or fail the session. And so forcing it to pause means you can't drive unless you acknowledge the message, in which case the session ends anyway. And then you can also put in a custom HTML page, which are assets that you can make and put into the content manager and then reference here. I've never done that, even though I did research a little bit of how that works, but I've never done that. I might do that for the next route, for the third rail electric route, for the timetables, maybe. I don't know yet. And then roughly where it's on the screen, like top left, top right, and so on. You can also put audio assets in there if you so wish. And then at the end, since this is a ranked session with the points, you put ranked session complete in, and then you can choose whether it's successful or unsuccessful. Yeah, icon, true. And then for speeding, I've put a simultaneous, so this is the speed check rule, which allows for 3 miles per hour tolerance over the speed limit. And then it simultaneously executes the rules of message pop-up, where it just tells you, hey, you're losing points due to speeding, with a warning icon, and then continuously modifies the ranking points variable, subtracting 3 every second. And with the passenger sessions, where the arrival-departure session rule is needed, that doesn't use the ranking points variable, instead it uses the score variable, which means that for speeding, I have to subtract both from ranking points and from score in those sessions. And then I've got the coupler breakage check variable as well, which displays a message that you've broken a coupler and then ends the session if you've done that. Same for derailment-ish. And yeah, that's pretty much the session rules. I can have a quick look in driver setup. So, for example, here, this is the first one, where it turns on the headlights, first of all, and then waits for the player train to go by a trigger, and then it goes to a specific station. Or in this case, it just waits for the player train to go, or any train to go by the trigger, and then use the STW drive command, which basically just means, okay, don't worry about junctions, just follow signals and go. It's basically like if you, in driver, right-click and select drive. And also for all the AI trains, I use Amy and then number them through. And for the player train, I use Adair. Because those are 2 drivers that I know are from the DLS or built in, or from, yeah, and so are safe to use. They're not packaged or payware or anything like that. And then I also usually delete the train, an AI train, if it's no longer needed, just for performance reasons, even though I don't know how much of an impact it really would have. But yeah, Adair, maybe? I don't know. Adair. Also, I always make sure to have all of these unticked except for the last one, which is remove all existing drivers is unticked, generate new drivers for empty trains is unticked, and wait for schedule completion is also unticked, because the first two are just to make sure that I'm in control over the drivers, because if it removes all existing drivers first, then, well, that can cause issues. And also generating new drivers for empty trains is not helpful if I've got loads of AI trains on there that are just stationary. They don't need drivers. And then the schedule completion rule checkbox, that is in reference to the schedule command, session rule, which I believe is this one, the schedule rule, which I played with way back when, like 2009 or 2008, where you can put in destinations or track marks and then select a train and it'll try to automatically drive this schedule. And then you can have the driver command rule be marked as complete, thus executing child rules, once a schedule has been finished that uses this. But it's something that I've not really played with much myself at all, but it certainly looks interesting. And yeah, let me just quickly save again. I'm not sure if I changed anything from before. And this is actually a big difference between how Trainz Sim Classic handles things and how Trainz handles things. Because in Trainz Sim Classic, you would have to... Actually, hold on, let me find the... There we go. In Trainz Sim Classic, all the AI trains run on specific schedules, where you can say, okay, at this time, go, head to this destination or this siding, and then wait there and then do something else. But that's always based on the time, the in-game clock. In Trainz you can do that too, but you can also have everything be triggered by the player instead. So, and that's how I prefer to do things. Now with the Third Rail Electric Network, I might switch over to doing it the other way, because I do intend to actually create proper schedules and then have AI trains appear in the sessions depending on how the schedules would make them run. And in that case, things being based on the clock might make more sense. But usually I have things be timed based on player triggers, so that the player, if the player is early or late, it doesn't mess up timings and encounters. For example, this train is going to sit here on this space, static, until the player goes over this trigger, which is TGR AI 3 start. And actually I can quickly show you in driver setup. I think it's this one? No. That's... no, it's this one. See, I've got the waiting for TGR AI 3 start to be triggered by any train, and then it's going to do the SDW drive rule, which means that it's all relative to the players, which on a route like this, where it's fictional, is a great tool to have, especially with freight trains, because then you can make encounters happen in the way that you imagine, and it's not as easy for the player to mess up your carefully constructed encounters with other trains, basically. Right. Yeah. You get to choose from a huge uncategorized list of loads of stuff. Yes. Very good indeed. Alright. Oh, also, Shadows, there should be a directory on your desktop. It's the newest one and should have a green label. Might be worth a look. I don't know what that is. but I trust you. So, is it called import me? Is that the one? I time trains by the clock based on the real life timetables. So where the player meets the train, that's where it would be in real life. Yeah, that's great. I mean, if you're doing if you're making a passenger focused route, then that is a good way of doing things. Especially if it's a real life one. And I suppose it's also better if you use interlocking towers, because if you don't, then an AI train might just... If you imagine that there's like a station here, a siding there, it goes in, and then there's an AI train up there. If the junctions are set for the player train to go onto the main line, and then the player train approaches not that fast, approaches like that, then if the AI train that's top tier is on a clock, and then it goes, then it might take control of that junction and switch it to its own alignment, which then could mess up the player, especially if there are signals before. And if you use the interlocking system, then I suppose that wouldn't be an issue, really. However, I've still not wrapped my head around how the interlocking system works. I roughly know how it works, but what I haven't quite figured out is how you can choose. Say there is a junction or a set of junctions where you can either go straight or left and then continues on, and then you can go straight or right. How can you choose which way to align all those different junctions depending on where you want to go? Say you enter the interlocking, how can you then choose whether you want to go down path 1, 2, 3, or 4, or whatever? That's the bit I haven't really wrapped my head around. But then again, I have played around with interlocking towers in Trainz, but I've not really seriously tried using them yet. I might do so in the next route. We'll see. Never knew. Yeah? Import me, that's right. In TSC, there's an option to trigger AI movement based on proximity, but not with the editor. Interesting. Okay, well, since it says import me, I'm going to do what it says and drink it, import it. Interior. MVR official, Fairbanks S'mores, H25. Has that finished importing? Not sure if that's finished yet or not. Actually, I should probably not exit while that's importing. There we go. Actually, I'll hop into the default session, which is also another thing that I previously spoke about as well, which is I always create a default session that I then put all the lighting, the default lighting and session rules and signal settings and all that sort of stuff in, to then copy and save as to make all the new sessions, because it just makes sure that all the relevant information is saved and consistent, because sometimes some signals save their information only in the session layer and not in the root layer, which is annoying. Most of them don't, but some of them do. And it's just a good thing to do. I use the mission codes manager, where you can set which paths certain mission codes go at each tower. So you can give Trainz a certain mission code, Then triggers along the route will set junctions in a set direction as the train goes along the route. Yeah, I believe that you mentioned that before in a previous stream where I asked the same question. Yeah, I mean, that is good to know, although I think the only thing that'll help with that is me actually trying to use the system for something. But your help is very much appreciated. Thank you. Although I will probably forget it by the time I actually need it. Okay, so once it's loaded in. Oh, you've repainted it in the passenger livery? Interesting. There's a small demo route on the DLS by the rule author. Ah, that might be worth looking into. Actually, it might be worth downloading now. So, do you know what what's the rule called specifically, or what the route is called specifically? Is it worthwhile trying something out with a dedicated test route before starting another project? Oh yes, yes, I would definitely say that that is worthwhile. Hold on. Ah, actually, that fits really quite well. Because the repaint of this loco that I've made is the freight livery. Yeah, that one. Actually, no, it's a different loco. Oh, I see. Yeah, because this is the one I repainted, where it has the flat back at the back for switching. And then Kango repainted this one, which has a hood on both sides. Oh, and the logo. I think that's the only time that the logo is in black like that. Oh, and you've put Milton Valley Railroad down there. Interesting. Although, I do like the repaint. Although, do you think it might look better having Milton Valley Railroad in black along the white in a larger font? Similar to how you made the logo in black on that point there. And actually, I think might also not look bad going that way forwards, even though the stripe won't line up. But yeah, that's really nice. Thank you. Although that does mean that the amount of sessions that I'll have to make for the route has now just gone up. But yeah, that looks really nice. Ah, you've even put in the custom signs in there. It reminds me of those old kind of moss green Canadian National... Was it Canadian National? Yeah, I think Canadian National locos that I used way back when. Although I think those were EMD, I think. That were painted in sort of this livery. Anyway, I can't find the one now. It's probably not installed. But yeah, I think that looks really nice. Thank you. Okay. It's a different logo, yes. It's a little bit different. In black, yeah. I did think that too. Wasn't certain, maybe. But yeah, aligning all the textures for this one was quite finicky. Glad you like it. Maybe look inside too, maybe not much in there. Yeah. GP7s, GP9s. Yeah. Oh, the root, yes. Name. EIT demo root UK1. Quite a few different ones. Well, this one's from 2018. I think these ones are sessions. Hold on, those are full session with MCM. No description, fortunately. With dynamic queue, timetable. Tell you what, I'm assuming those reference the same route. So I'm just going to download those and have a look at them at some point. Thank you very much. I know which ones you mean. Thank you. 2. I also replaced the stencil text about not leaving it on for more than 10 minutes at the top with an MVR sticker. Also for the other Fairbanks Moors. Ah. Okay, well, that was a lovely surprise. And yeah, I guess now all that remains is for me to make the last few sessions, which the number of those has just gone up slightly. And then get in touch with Trainboy1 to finally sort out whether or not I have final permission to use his F7's mesh. And then I still need to make all the screenshots for the route and write the session descriptions. But then it's pretty much ready to submit to the TCCP. Who knew it? The MVR might actually get finished at some point. Yeah, the trailer, but I think that the submission can happen before that, maybe? Because N3V and the public beta testing still has to go through that, I think. We'll see. Also, on single track lines, you can use the track circuit assets and put them at either end of the single line. This stops a path being activated if a train is already on that section. Yeah, that's good. That is good. Also, choose another horn for it. Chose even has the ch sound when deactivating the bell while inside the cab. Yeah, I know, shocking, Code Monkey. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. This live stream will be archived on YouTube. And in terms of further Trainz live streams, show the sticker in the cab if you want. Sure. See, now I'm keeping you all in suspense. Or rather, Kango is. Where is it? Is it visible in this view of the interior? Oh yeah, there we go. Up there. Warning, engine must not be left idling in excess of 10 minutes, MVR. Yeah, so there are a few options. I could go with having a look at some of the routes that I want to continue to have a look at, like for example Polaris or the updated version of Cornish Railways, which I do want to have a look at, and I've been meaning to do for a while, which honestly would be kind of ideal. Or we could get started with doing world building for the Third Rail electric route, because I do want to have the... With a new route, I want to have a general map of the layout done first. And we might not do the entire layout, the entire map, maybe just some sections of it. We'll see how large it ends up being. But I do want to have that history and that layout there, especially since it's supposed to be, or going to be, a passenger commuter network thing, where it's going to matter a lot how different stations are interconnected and how heavily trafficked certain sections of it will be as opposed to others. And the orientation of switches is going to matter a lot as well, which means that we're going to need a map. And if we're going to need a map anyway for the layout, let's put some actual history in it. I may or may not have been inspired by Thomas the Tank Engine's Sodor map and all the history that went into that. Oh, we probably won't go to that extreme, but definitely I want to put history in that. And that's going to take a while to prep anyway. And so, yeah. I think we will do some more other route showcases, like for example Cornish Railways and Polaris as well, depending on people's availabilities. I think that sounds good. Right. Dilly Dally Valley. Ooh, making a trailer coaster session on stream. Well, that has a prerequisite of there even being a trailer coaster this time round. Yeah, what building? Sign me up. Oh, you want to do it for me? Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Locomotive showcase. Is that my 153? No. I don't know, it's Kango's route. Yep, the railway series. Oh yes. Can we expect the mention of historical battles in your Third Rail route world building streams? I have no idea. Ooh, Julia's Pass. That sounds like a really fun route. Anyway, good night everybody. And actually, good morning. We've got the whole night through. Good morning. No, okay. Bye-bye.